This right next to me is a Ford Transit Custom, which is the smaller version of the full-size Transit that is aimed directly at the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, whereas this smaller version is aimed directly at the Toyota HiAce. So why would you choose this? Well, the Ford Transit Custom offers more refinement, more tech, and as well as more safety, but of course it is more expensive. So in this full detailed review, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know. And before we start, I would love it if you could subscribe and hit the bell icon to receive notifications every time I upload a new car review. But for now, let's get straight into the review. Let's start off with a brief overview about the model range. So the Transit Custom has a price range between $55,000 climbing up just under $63,000, with the choice between a short or long wheelbase, and available also in two different model lines. Firstly, the Trend, which is the one I'm featuring in the video and aimed directly at commercial fleet buyers, whereas the Sports Grade adds on a few additional options like LED lighting, electric driver seat adjustment, and as well as additional seating as well. And in terms of rivals, like I mentioned, it is the type of vehicle that you're going to compare with the Toyota HiAce, which is priced from $46,000, and for a similar price tag, the Hyundai Staria Load. Let's now move on to the design. So the color of this van is finished off in magnetic, and you've got 5 other external colors to pick from. White is no cost option, the other 3 are $700 each, and the final one is a custom colored paint job, which will set you back an additional $1,400. Now, in terms of some of the key highlights, you've got LED lighting up the front, along with automatic headlights and manual headlight adjustment. And if we look lower down, additional black cladding, as well as the Harbour Bridge styled front grille. And now moving towards the side view of the Transit Custom. So this model variant, the Trend, sits on 15-inch steel wheels that are equipped with plastic covers, and you also get a passenger side sliding door, which is manually operated. And for $1,000, you could also option for a driver's side sliding door, which is again manually operated. And it's also worth noting that you don't get keyless entry on the Trend, that is only available on the Sport. And you also get these big large wing mirrors, and finally on top of the roof, integration points for the roof rails. And now moving towards the rear design of the Transit Custom. So we've got a rear barn door opening setup, as well as rear combination lights that are halogen. And it's also worth mentioning that you can step up to full LED lights if you step up to the Sports Grade. And additionally, if we look lower down, a black plastic bumper bar, and finally a brake towing capacity of 2,500 kilograms and an unbrake towing capacity figure of 750 kilograms. Right, moving on to the cabin. So before you climb inside, the Transit Custom receives a remote key, push power start, however no keyless entry on the Trend. And of course, being a van, there are some elements of hard plastic across the cabin, even on the top and lower sections of the doors, cloth seat upholstery, and you also don't get carpet flooring. But in terms of where it fits in comparison to a Toyota HiAce or a Mercedes-Benz Vito, it does feel very car-like, more in line with a base model Ford Focus. There is also plenty of adjustment for the driver's seat, and they both also can be heated. And you've also got a manually adjustable tilt and reach steering wheel, but it is worth pointing out the passenger and middle seat are fixed. There is also inbuilt climate control within the infotainment, and you also get this squared off shape 3-spoke steering wheel that feels very good to grip onto. And if we move on to technology, it all runs off this 13-inch touchscreen, which does look very high tech. And there is also a volume dial, as well as some buttons down here for drive modes, parking, and your front demister, as well as some additional buttons on the steering wheel. And in terms of key features, this doesn't include AM radio, but you do have FM and DAB, along with a 4-speaker sound system. You've also got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which are both wireless, voice control, along with satellite navigation as standard. And additionally, you also get a 5G embedded modem, and as well as Ford Connective Services, which means you can access the Ford Pass app. And moving on to safety, there is a 180-degree camera, which overall, in terms of quality, looks pretty good. And in addition to that, there is also front and rear parking sensors, along with a rear cross traffic alert. And additionally, you also get safe warning exit. So if you open the door when a car is coming towards you, that will hopefully prevent a bad scenario. And in addition to that, you've also got blind spot monitoring on the wing mirrors, as well as autonomous emergency braking, and as well as a lane keeping assistant that keeps you within lane. And if we look towards the steering wheel, there is adaptive cruise control that keeps you within distance between yourself and the vehicle in front. And finally, speed sign recognition. And moving on to this digital instrument cluster, as you can see, it is fairly configurable, and you can cycle through different menus looking at fuel consumption, media functions, navigation, and other key data. And the menu layout is very similar to a base model Ford Ranger. There are also additional drive modes to choose from: normal, eco, slippery, and tow. And finally, practicality. So you don't have any shelving up the top here, or even any vanity mirrors or a sunglasses holder, but on top of the dashboard there is additional storage along here and here as well as two small cup holders on either side. There is also additional space looking lower down on the doors, as well as a spot there for a drink bottle. And you've also got this section where you can store your coffee cup, and looking towards the center you've got a USB-C and a USB-A port along with a 12-volt socket. And on the lower section, wireless phone charging. And looking towards the passenger side, a decent sized glove box. And looking towards this center section, this fold down arrangement where you can store pens or have something to write on. And finally, if you lift up these seats, you've got additional storage to keep items hidden, such as laptop bags, or in my case, camera equipment. And you can also access this section towards the bottom of the bulkhead. Right, let's now move on to the van section. So you've got a barn style door opening with buttons along the side, and this does open 180 degrees, and as you can see, the opening is forklift friendly. However, for the sliding doors, they are not. And you do have enough room between the wheel arches to fit an Aussie sized pallet. And you've also got 1,255 kilograms of payload. You've got LED lighting, as well as a button here to turn on additional LED lights. And if you step up to the long wheelbase, you'll be able to fit 4 Euro sized pallets thanks to the extra 400 millimeters of load length. And all Transit Customs include lining along the side, tie down hooks, and this plastic flooring. And there is also a compartment underneath the bulkhead that leads towards the bottom of the seats. And underneath, directly where I'm pointing, is a full-size spare tyre. Now, in terms of options, you can equip this with air conditioning for this fan section, and you can also equip this with the secure visibility pack, which deletes the rear windows and that small window on the bulkhead and replaces it with a solid bulkhead and adds on a dash cam along with a digital rear mirror. And finally, in terms of key data, specifications, payload figures, and towing capacity, as you can see, I have included all that information on your screen now. Let's now move on to the powertrain. So under the bonnet features a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged diesel engine that puts out 125 kilowatts and 390 newton meters of torque, and all combined to an 8-speed automatic gearbox sending power to the front wheels. And because this engine is Euro 6 compliant, when you open up the passenger door to access the fuel tank, as you can see, there is a top up for the AdBlue. And additionally, the Transit Custom also features start-stop technology. And finally, in terms of ownership, Ford Australia offers a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty and a years of roadside assistance, which you can extend up to 7 years if you service with Ford. So with all the specifications out of the way, let's now take it out for a drive. Right, let's now move on to the driving impressions, starting off with vision. I've got great visibility at the front, decent side vision, and as well as decent sized wing mirrors with additional mirrors down below. And right behind me you've got this small window, and as you would expect for a van, you will really need to rely on those mirrors. Now firstly, there is a gear selector on the right hand side, and your indicator stalks are on the left hand side, and you just hold the P button to place it into park and put it down to go into drive. So in terms of how this drove over the week, well, in comparison to the Toyota HiAce, the suspension is on the soft side, and it isn't really that noisy inside thanks to the bulkhead. And the steering is also nice and light and responsive as well, whereas on the HiAce it is fairly light, but you don't really have that much feel. Now, in terms of fuel consumption, Ford claims the Transit Custom will achieve 8 litres per 100, and in terms of what I've seen, it is currently sitting on 9.4 litres per 100. And in terms of acceleration, it is fairly punchy, and even this 2-litre diesel is fairly quiet as well. And in terms of driver assistance, the adaptive cruise control works fairly well, even the lane centering, nothing is too intrusive. And it's also worth mentioning that the next Volkswagen Transporter will sit on the same platform as the Transit Custom, which is a good sign because that is one of the more premium vans that you can purchase. So I guess if you're looking at maybe the current Transporter, which is still fairly expensive, or even a Mercedes-Benz Vito if you're coming off your lease and you want something refined and you don't want the bone-breaking ride of the Toyota HiAce and something that looks and feels a bit more premium, I think this is definitely something you should really consider. So in saying that, let's now wrap up with a verdict. So what is my final verdict on the Ford Transit Custom? Well, in terms of where it fits in within the segment, it is more refined and it is more car-like in terms of how it drives, and it's also equipped with decent technology features, safety and assistance, and I think the Transit Custom is definitely worth considering. But of course, let me know what you think of my verdict down in the comment section below, and if you gained value from this video, please give it a like, share, subscribe, but for now, I will see you in the next film. Thanks for watching.